So before we get into the video today, I'd like to ask you guys if you can just go down below and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon while you're down there, so you get notified on when my new videos come out. So as you can probably tell from the title of the video, today I'm going to be installing a flex fuel kit for the Subaru. So if you don't know what a flex fuel kit is, basically what it is it allows you to run gasoline and any blend of E85. So I can go to the pump, fill up with the 85. It doesn't matter what the actual content is, it will run it on that fuel. So E85 is a lot cheaper than gasoline, and it's a lot better for high performance turbo cars because it makes everything run cooler. So overall it's a better environmentally, and then it's better for performance, and it's cheaper, but you burn more of it, so it kind of balances out the price. But for the performance benefit you get, it's way worth it. E-Flex Fuel Technologies sent me this flex fuel kit for the Subaru. So I'm just going to show you what comes in the kit. Primarily you have the piggyback computer, not much to look at there, and then there's the flex fuel sensor, that's the ethanol content sensor. It also comes with some fuel line, some quick connectors, some hose clamps, some different 90s and stuff, so that you can get the flex fuel sensor installed into your fuel system. And then it comes with this wiring harness as well. So this wiring harness, it has the connector for the flex fuel sensor, all the injector connectors. It's got a temperature sensor right there, a ground, and then this plugs into the piggyback unit. And it also came with some extensions in case you have like a 5-cylinder, 6-cylinder, or 8-cylinder vehicle. These are another extension, and it came with some connectors with extra hookups, but I just kind of heat shrunk them and tied them up so it was a lot tighter and neater. And then it comes with other connectors for those extra injectors. I did make one little modification to this harness other than that thing. So the wiring harness I ordered was for an EV1 style injector, which is what my D-Works injectors have, but the Subaru OEMs use a Denso injector. So instead of running the adapter that I have on there now that adapts from the EV1 to the stock wiring harness, I'm going to use this to kind of remove that adapter. And instead of having the EV1 female right here and the EV1 male right here, I kept the EV1 female for the injectors, and then back into the harness I put a Denso male connector on it. So I just had to cut the pins that were already on there, repin it, and then throw this connector on there. So this will be directly plug and play now into my factory ECU wiring harness and then my new injectors. Now if you have stock injectors and everything's stock on your car, that's not something you'll have to do, but even if you have upgraded injectors, you don't have to do that. But I decided to do it because I want it to look as neat as I can get it. So the cool thing about E-Flex Fuel Technologies is you don't have to have a tune to run these. It's a plug and play system. It's based off of your gasoline fuel map, and it uses this computer to kind of change the signal going to the injectors based on the ethanol content. So you get the perfect air fuel ratio for the blend of ethanol that's in your car currently, which is really cool because all the flex fuel systems for my car on the market, you have to have a tune on them. There's Cobb, there's Delicious Tuning, but all those require a tune. This one is completely plug and play, so that is good for me. So that being the case, I will have to have a tune for gasoline, and I will have to have a tune for ethanol, but it won't be specific for a certain content. And the reason I need that is because on ethanol you can run a little bit more timing, and it has a different kind of max torque area. So just to get the most power out of the ethanol, I'll have a separate tune for ethanol, and then I'll have a tune for gasoline when I'm below E70 in my content. I'll put the gas tune back on it, but that's no big deal. Before I got this flex fuel kit, I was going to just use an ethanol sensor and just blend my own fuel, so I'd always be putting E70 in it, but that's a big hassle at the pump because you gotta figure out what content's coming out of the pump. You gotta calculate how much gasoline you need to add to it to get to E70, and it's just a big hassle. So this way it's gonna make it a lot easier. I'm gonna get the performance benefit I was looking for, and it's just as easy as going to the pump and filling up. So I'm super stoked on this. Without further ado, let's get on to the install. So I'm trying to figure out a good place to mount the piggyback computer. So I'm hoping, so first things first, I'm going to take off this intercooler because I need to also install a new blow-off valve hose, and it'll help me route the wires behind the intake manifold, make it look neater. So I'm going to get that off, and hopefully I can find a spot to mount it behind the intercooler. If not, I will probably find something on this side where I can mount it. Alright, so as you've seen in the last clip, I put a riv nut in there, and I have those 2 holes with countersunk, so I can put these countersunk bolts in it and it sits flush, and then I can mount the sensor onto here. So I'm going to put this on there right now and I'll show you what it looks like installed. Alright, so there's the bracket installed. I'm going to install a bolt right here with a spacer to hold this fuel line out of the way a little bit more, but that's going to allow me to mount that flex, or the computer right there. The flex fuel sensor computer is on there. The harness is plugged in, and you can see, you can see where it's routed through right there. And then it comes through the harness, comes up here. I haven't routed any of the connectors yet, but I think I'm going to connect the ground right here to the frame where the factory ground is. I'll probably just stick it in there. I'll trim it so that it's shorter and then put a new connector on it. And then yeah, so now I just need to route these injector wires to their corresponding injectors. I got all the wires routed where I want them. So you can see these 2 come out this hole where the fuel rail comes out, and same thing on the other side. Where is it? Alright, these 2. There's one right here, and I routed the other one that way, but it comes out the middle of the intake manifold. So those 2 lines are right here that go to the passenger side, and these 2 lines that go to the driver's side meet up here. They follow this hose down to this wire where it goes behind here, and it just loops back up. So they all kind of go boom, and then they split off right to there. And then these 2 are just hanging off because I'm going to put the flex fuel sensor right here. So that will kind of tuck behind here, plug in, and then the temperature sensor just needs to be fastened somewhere near the block so that it can get a reading of the ambient temperature. So I'm going to plug in all the injectors off camera because it's going to take a while, because some of them are really hard to get to. So I'm going to do it off camera because it's going to take probably 30 minutes. So I'll be back when it's all plugged in. Alright, so the harnesses are all plugged into the injectors. You can see everything's plugged in now. And these are the adapters I was talking about. So they have the EV1 on one side and the Denso on the other side. So I pulled those out. Now the new harness just plugs into both connectors without an adapter. So it's nice and clean. So all there's left to do is get that ethanol content sensor tied into my fuel inlet line, and that part of the harness plugged into it, and then the car should be ready to start. Oh, and then I got to put the intake manifold on and all that stuff. For the flex fuel sensor, I'm not going to use really any of that stuff that they came with the kit. I'll probably use some of this fuel line if I have to, but I already had some of this stuff laying around. So I have 2 AN fittings with the push lock on the end, and then I have the quick disconnects that connect to the sensor with an AN fitting on the back of it, and then I have these fancy clamps. So I'm gonna use all that stuff, but get it plumbed in. Alright, so we're gonna try to keep fuel So here's the sensor in there with all the bends and stuff. I'm probably going to have to get a mounting bracket for this to actually have it hold secure, because right now it kind of moves around. But that's what it looks like so far. It's plugged in there. So I'm gonna get all these clamped on and then put the intercooler back on, and we'll be able to start it up, make sure there's no leaks, and then if it's all good, start it and see if the ethanol content sensor is reading and all that good stuff. Alright, so I got the flex fuel sensor connector bundled up and wired into here, and I ended up running the temperature sensor right down here and zip tied it to this bracket, so it's just kind of dangling down there above the engine block, but that'll give it a good reading for cold start adjustment on the computer. So all the wiring's done, intercooler goes back on now, and then we'll try and start it up. All right, first things first, we're gonna check for leaks. So fuel pump. I don't see any leaks yet. Let's prime it one more time. Leaks. Okay. So I'm gonna try to connect to the flex fuel sensor via Bluetooth and see what it's reading right now. I'll prime it a couple more times. Alright, so I got the computer up just to monitor stuff. We're gonna try starting it up. Okay, moment of truth. Please work. Well, it's running. Feels like it's running about normal too. Let's see if the app will connect now. It wasn't connecting earlier. Alright, so let me turn this light off. This is the app. So you can see it says ethanol content 10%, engine temperature 15 degrees C, injector activity, I don't know what that means. Injector duty cycle is 3%, and it tells you your RPM right there, and everything's looking accurate. E10 is about normal for California. Their just regular gasoline has 10% ethanol, but yeah, that's pretty sweet. So I got my little app. Let's give it a little. Yeah, looking good. Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna let it warm up and see what it does when it warms up. Alright you guys, so I have been testing out this e-flex fuel kit for the past 2 months or so. When I first installed it, I had a slight little problem, not to the fault of e-flex fuel, just because my car is running with larger injectors. If you were to put this kit on a car that had stock injectors on it, it'd have no problem running it just off the bat. But the problem that I had was the bigger injectors that are in my car. I have 1200cc injectors, which stock is like 500cc injectors, so they're a lot bigger. And bigger injectors have heavier parts on the inside, so they react slower to the car telling it to open and close. And the added line that was in the kit, just for the piggyback system, it was creating enough of a time delay that the injectors were firing slightly off. So I just had to go into my tune and increase the injector latency a little bit so that they open sooner than they would without the kit. But that was the only problem I had, only little change I had to make, so nothing crazy. once I had that figured out, everything was running perfectly fine. Right now I'm on ethanol, and I'm actually gonna go drive around and go to the gas station and fill up with 91 because I need to do a retune because I'm doing a lot of like extra stuff on the car now, and I need 91 in it to accurately tune. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna drive around, talk about it a little bit. Really the only downside that I have seen so far to the ethanol is the increased fuel consumption. It's not crazy important to me that the car, you know, gets good gas mileage because it's not my daily driver. But other than that, I've loved everything about it. Cooler, which is the main benefit to it, in my opinion. The car will not knock on E85, no matter what the timing's set at. The car won't knock if your fuel's correct. So that's another main benefit to it. The car just overall, and this is for all turbo cars in general, for all turbo cars, if you're running ethanol, it's just going to run way safer just because this fuel is more suited to high temperatures, high pressures, all that good stuff. So it's a lot better in my opinion, and I think it is worth the increased money you pay for having added fuel consumption and having to fill up more often. So there's no real way that I can convey to you at this point the difference in like the speed between the E85 and gasoline. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the gas station, I'm going to fill up with 91, and we already know what my, you know, passes are with E85. Well, I know, but I'll do a pass with 91 on like a simulated like quarter mile or whatever, and we'll see what the time difference is. I don't have enough ethanol in the tank right now to actually run it in the same spot, but the video hasn't come out yet, but the drag racing video I last did on E85 with the exhaust, I was consistently running in the 8.7s. So with straight pipe, I was running like 8.5s, but with the exhaust, it straightened it up a little bit. So I was in the 8.7s with the exhaust that's on it right now, and that's in the 8th mile. So we can test and see what the 8th mile is with gasoline once I switch over to it, and then that'll be a good comparison for you guys to see. But if you were in the car, you could definitely feel the power difference. Alright, so that was very expensive. Gas right now, 91 in San Diego, is $4.30 a gallon. So I paid $50 for a full tank of gas. Versus 91 is or versus for E85, I'm usually paying like $30 for a tank. So it's a big price difference, but this should last me a little while, and I needed to do it anyways for tuning purposes, so I need to check what my ethanol content is. Alright, so I'm actually running 23% ethanol content right now, so it's making a slight change, but not much. It doesn't make any changes under 20%, so it's barely doing anything right now. So I might have to fill it up again at some point to get an accurate tune for it with 91 later, but we'll still do our little pass real quick. All right. That was a 13.86 quarter mile. 13.86 quarter mile. The 8th mile was an 8.95. So that's about So that's about what I was running before I switched over to E85. Because if you remember, I believe it was maybe the second to last drag racing video I did, I was running like 9-second passes, and it was a struggle to get into the 8s when I was racing my friend Garrett. So my fastest pass that day was an 8.95. So that's what I just ran right now, versus the last time I was out drag racing with the 85, I was running 8.7. So that kind of gives you an idea of the power difference, and I can definitely feel the power difference. You're not gonna be able to feel that through the video, of course, but at least you got that time in your head as well. Now, that wasn't a very scientific test, but it will serve its purpose. But like I said, in the next few weeks, I will be installing new parts, and I will be doing a full-on tuning series where I show you step by step how I tune a car, and then we'll be going to the dyno, and we'll be dynoing it at 91 and then switching it over to E85 and dynoing it on E85, and then we'll actually have a scientific set of data and some data numbers that we can compare. So I think that's really cool. I'm really excited for that, so stay tuned for that. So as always, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like on the video if you did. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.